But at the heart of what went on are a series of criminal allegations about the behaviour of Sir Jimmy Savile.
Welcome to WatchMojoUK, and today we're looking at 10 British TV scandals that were covered up for years.
He denies 12 charges of indecent assault dating between 1968 and 1986.
Philip Scofield.
So how old was he when he first said to you, I'm interested in television? Was he 18 by that point?
19 now.
An inquiry was launched into this scandal when Philip Scofield left This Morning with his career in tatters, following revelations that he'd been having an affair with a much younger male runner on the show.
You, me, and all of us at This Morning gave our love and support to someone who was not telling the truth.
It's been claimed that he lied to absolutely everybody about this relationship, saying that nothing was going on between them, but it's equally been claimed that ITV was so aware of it that private cars were ferrying the young man to Scofield's house and back.
When the rumour got bigger, then we were both asked.
ITV's handling of it was investigated, while Holly Willoughby denied all knowledge.
And did you ever tell Holly Willoughby?
No, God no. That's a bigger question.
It's still not clear how much was covered up by Scofield himself, and how much, if any, involvement the bosses at ITV had. Don't tell the bride.
We've come all this way. It's not a joke. Do you still think it's a joke?
I think there's a slight chance it might be a joke.
Did you know that the weddings on Don't Tell the Bride aren't real? It seems obvious now, but a few years ago, many believed that the weddings on the show were genuine and legal.
Really struggling to want to marry you.
They are real couples who are really planning on getting married, but the ceremonies we see on screen aren't legally binding, which helps to explain why the put-upon brides go through with them.
Are you joking? So I'm guessing it's still like beer related, going to another brewery, just like at the Hen do.
This all came out when one of the former stars talked to the tabloids, saying that it was in their contracts that the weddings would not be legally binding. They still get the ceremony and the party, but were told by the producers to go seal the deal at the registry office later on.
Sophia's agreed to go in, but she's ditched her wedding dress.
The Strictly scandal.
If it just been me coming out saying, all this stuff, I can understand why people go, oh God, But there were 5 or 6 other people previously to me who had the same experience.
In 2024, stories began to emerge that numerous former Strictly contestants weren't happy with how they'd been treated on the show. The first person to give an indication that something was wrong was Amanda Abbington, as tabloids began reporting that Abbington had requested footage of her training sessions with Giovanni Panice.
I would get the producers saying, on the Friday, we've just watched the footage back, we are shocked and horrified, we're so sorry.
Eventually, both Panice and another dancer, Graziano Di Prima, left the show. It was leaked that training sessions between Di Prima and Zara McDermott reduced staff to tears, while the BBC has refused to release the footage of Panice to Abbington and her lawyers.
There is evidence out there what happened in that room, and I'm not the one who's blocking.
It seems that some dancers on Strictly have been mistreating the celebrity contestants for years, and that the BBC is finally facing a reckoning over this.
His past dance partners were getting in touch with you and saying what?
I'm so sorry.
Russell Brand.
He always only wore his underwear, his tighty-whities. I don't think today I would accept a boss only being in his underwear around me.
There was no way he could have gotten away with his outrageous behaviour for so long without something dodgy going on behind the scenes. The police are still investigating the various allegations against him, but he crossed boundaries during broadcasts for everyone to see.
He was a narcissist, and it was almost a joke.
This behaviour culminated in the Saxgate scandal on BBC Radio, but even that came off the back of many people complaining about his risque actions and bad attitude, primarily while working for Channel 4.
I've got a assistant called. Part of her job description is that anyone I demand she greets, meets, massages, she has to do it.
Former assistants of Brand went on the record to say that he was often inappropriate, while comedian Daniel Sloss said that Brand's alleged crimes were an open secret in the entertainment industry.
Would you like her to wear anything in particular, Sir Jimmy?
I'd actually prefer her to wear nothing.
The Forin Scandal.
Tony Blair has told television companies they must ensure that phone-ins are trustworthy and reliable.
This cover-up was being executed by all major broadcasters all at once, fleecing the public of millions of pounds over many years. It began when Richard and Judy were found to still be accepting premium phone-ins from viewers after the list of competition winners had been selected, meaning they had no chance to win.
Says that a series of persistent computer problems over several years meant viewers' money was collected, but their votes were lost.
Other offences from different broadcasters included pre-recording competitions completely, so that, again, viewers were paying without having a real chance, and even rigging the results of the Blue Peter cat naming contest.
The man who was the editor of Blue Peter at the time has, we understand, been suspended because he was also the editor when Blue Peter rigged the result of a phone-in.
Radio stations were embroiled in the scandal too, with networks paying out millions in fines to Ofcom.
That was wrong, and so today we'd like to say that we're sorry.
Yep, we would. And what?
Tim Westwood.
Right now we're doing this for Beijing, baby. Understand how it's going down?
The well-known DJ used to be routinely mocked for his accent and presenting style on Pimp My Ride, but it later turned out that there was a darker side to him.
Now the man who's commanded huge power in the music industry and huge influence in black communities stands accused of sexual misconduct by a number of women.
In 2022, the BBC released a long documentary detailing allegations numerous women had made against him, dating as far back as 1992.
BBC News had asked the BBC if they'd had any complaints about Tim Westwood. It replied, "We can neither confirm nor deny whether the BBC holds the requested information."
Freedom of Information requests later revealed that many complaints had been made about Westwood to the BBC over the years, but that only one was ever referred to the police, and at least one allegation involves an underage girl.
The BBC today said it had received 6 complaints about Tim Westwood, relating to the period that he was employed at the corporation.
The BBC is still being investigated over just how much it covered up what he was up to while working for them. Rolf Harris. His entire career was over when, in 2013, he was arrested as part of Operation U-Tree. He pled not guilty and the cases went to trial, where he was ultimately sent down for 5 years for historic offences against young girls decades previously.
But it was this very popularity that made Rolf Harris untouchable and able to hide a darker side that attracted him to young girls.
But, yet again, we're left wondering how and why his career in television and entertainment continued for so long. ITV, at least, was able to provide evidence during Harris's trials that proved he was lying about certain things, but a lot of his crimes went back for years.
For decades, the children's TV presenter had hidden in plain sight, even fronting this safety campaign to warn kids about predatory adults.
Even some celebrities eventually came out and said they'd suffered at his hands, and he spent most of his final years in prison.
Other touches give you a no feeling. It's like, no, I don't know why I don't like that, but I'm not too sure about that at all.
The Diana interview.
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
In 1995, the world was shocked by an exclusive interview with Diana, Princess of Wales, on Panorama, in which the royal was interviewed by BBC journalist Martin Bashir only 2 years before her death.
Martin Bashir spun a web of elaborate lies to win the trust of the princess.
But the interview was dodgy from the start, and in 2020, it finally came out that Bashir had gained access to Diana by showing her false bank statements to make her paranoid that her loved ones were talking to the press.
What Martin Bashir wanted to share, according to Earl Spencer, was evidence that the Earl was being spied on. It got him a meeting at Althorp House.
Despite Bashir keeping details of the interview secret from BBC bosses until it aired, under the belief that it would have likely never been broadcast had certain people known, the BBC stood by him until the evidence came out. Even then, they didn't sack him. He resigned in 2021. The Jeremy Kyle Show. In 2019, the country was shocked when a former guest on The Jeremy Kyle Show, Steve Diamond, was reported to have taken his own life after failing a lie detector test during a recording that never aired.
Because Jane was on the show as well, Steve wasn't there to talk anymore, so they had to go down there and make sure that Jane realised that it wasn't the show's fault and she didn't start saying the wrong things to the newspapers.
But in 2022, a Channel 4 investigative documentary came out that interviewed the families of other people whose loved ones had done the same thing after being humiliated on the show.
When my wife died, they did nothing, absolutely nothing.
It was a harrowing watch, with incidents of violence and even death going back to the late 2000s, a decade before the show eventually ended because of all its controversies.
They split you up straight away. You're put in these little cubicles, like shoe boxes, and they come and pump you for hours.
It seems that ITV did everything possible to control the narrative and try to stop these stories from reaching the public.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Jimmy Savile.
Most kids wanted to go to the top of the pops, but we all knew what that cigar muncher was up to.
The cover-up to end all cover-ups. Savile's many crimes, most of which are so heinous we won't repeat them, were known about to people at the BBC for his entire decades-long career.
Jimmy, you've never been married and you don't seem to have a very high regard of women. Do you feel that women are inferior to you?
It says a lot about the people in charge at the time that he was able to get away with it for so long, especially when he came across as deeply disturbing to the public, even at the height of his fame, presenting Top of the Pops and Jim'll Fix It.
Was child protection on your radar as an issue back then?
I have to say I don't suppose it was. It's an awful thing to say, isn't it? But no.
The fact that his victims were so frightened that they didn't come forward until after his death in 2011 speaks volumes too, and millions of Brits will never forgive the BBC for allowing this to happen under its roof. Let us know in the comments whether you think the TV licence should be abolished.
Do you really believe that a campaign was being waged against you?
Yes, I did, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojoUK and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.